Welcome back. Game 2 on court 1 here at the CBS Arena in Coventry, and it's the first women's game of the day as Israel take on Great Britain. Well, Great Britain started off with a victory yesterday, 5-1 winners against Australia, now looking to make it 2 out of 2 as they take to the field for their, or take to the court I should say, in their second game against Israel, who were narrow losers to Japan, losing by 2-3. Under 3 minutes to go until kick-off, and the fixtures that are coming up, we've already had one game take place today. Germany 9, Finland 6 in the men's division. South Korea, Lithuania, Japan, Egypt, and Germany, Great Britain round off the men's action. 4 games, of course, every day taking place in the men's side of the draw, as well as the women's. The first of the 4 today taking place now, and later on after is Ukraine, USA, Canada, Germany, and then we round off with Brazil against Finland. Court 2 as well is seeing Brazil and Denmark take place right now. Turkey, Australia was in the men's that kicked off at 9:30. 4 men's games include as well the other 3, Argentina, USA, Iran, Greece, and Turkey, Ukraine. And in the women, Brazil, Denmark is on right now on court 2. China, Australia, and Greece versus Japan. But we're focusing on Great Britain women as they take on Israel. Well, they managed to beat Australia, which was a nice victory. Can they repeat that against Israel? As of course the crowd for Great Britain hopefully will be very, very supportive. Get behind the girls. They, of course, have to be quiet for long periods, don't they, the crowd? But when, of course, the ball was out or there was stoppages, they were able to get off to that winning start, as just mentioned there, and get the victory that they needed to get. As we are all set and ready to go. Just under a minute until we get started, as it will be Israel against Great Britain in the first women's game of the day, in what is day 2 of the Goalball here in Coventry. And for Great Britain, number 5, Amelia Robertson is starting. This is one, of course, of the sort of very colourful haircut. Of course, our officials today, Riley Sipora and Andrea Kumar. The timekeeper is Balinch Benker, with also as well Romualdas Vaitiekus as the other timekeeper as well. Both sides have 6 players to choose from, as we are about to get started here, as the crowd falls silent here in the CBS Arena. Just getting their claps and everything else out the way for one last time before the action gets started. Great Britain in red, change strip, Israel in blue. Let's let battle commence. As Amelia Robertson will start off the game for England, looking for Great Britain, looking to score, but she's unable to, as Israel are able to defend it. Of course, they were on the wrong end of a 5-goal thriller against Japan, which actually, quite remarkably, is one of the lowest scoring games that has taken place yesterday, in fairness. Hoping to get back on track with a victory, and they have got off to a good start here as they lead. The first goal of this contest is an Israeli one. Not the start GB had in mind on a game yesterday they were in total control of against Australia. But Israel will hope to knock the stuffing out of the GB girls on home soil. Is now attempting to equalise for Great Britain is Lois Turner. He does well to make a save at her near post to keep it at 1-0 for Israel. Of course, the officials aren't afraid to ever say quiet please, so Great Britain fans may just be a bit too loud at times. Of course, no doubt family supporting each player, and of course giving the support collectively to match as well. As Israel have been able to defend it well with Gal Hamrani looking to go 2 up, or Mizrahi though is denied. Georgie Bullen, the centre of the 3 for Great Britain, is looking to try and strike now, but isn't able to. Real power on the throw from Nihi Ben David, but out and away from Lois Turner. As now the space is vacated in front for Amelia Robertson to run into. It was low, but didn't quite have the power to match. Not quite adequate on that particular front. But the men in action later, they take on Germany. That's at 5 o'clock. Of course, less than sort of 24 hours after they beat the Australians. Great Britain are back in action as, of course, Georgie Bullen for England, for Great Britain is just having a eye protectors check by the official. Over on the far side, of course, they are not allowed to do it without the officials' approval. So they, of course, do ask, or if the ball goes out. So it is still 1-0 to Great Britain here. Amelia Robertson going for it. Kicked out by the Israel defence, who lead this encounter by a solitary goal to 0 against Great Britain. So they've got work to do in terms of coming from a goal down. Get to see the character now of Great Britain, and if they have got it, to get back in this one. Kept out well by Gal Hamrani, or Mizrahi looking to strike, but it was low and easily dealt with by Georgie Bullen, who will give it to Amelia Robertson, who does seem to have a lot of power on her shots. Seems to be the one that Great Britain are sort of turning to try and get them level. As Robertson was stretching, but the attempt from Ben David went out. 8 minutes plus of this first half to play. Still time. As the Israeli player just, I think, was a little bit dizzy when she was spinning, and she ended up trying to throw towards the goal, but actually going towards the officials' table, where, of course, they are sitting just in front of the scoreboard with that behind them, as Ben David trying to get past Georgie Bullen with a low throw, but unable to. Mizrahi will do the same again. Georgie Bullen is in good form in terms of keeping it out for Great Britain. Anything that goes towards her centrally, she's been on point to keep out the Israelis, who make a bit of a mess of the first attempt. Luckily, though, Nihi Ben David's shot is kept back from sort of going over the neutral area. But, of course, it will lead to a Great Britain penalty shot because, of course, the ball didn't bounce in Great Britain's half. So it's an ideal chance to get level here, as it will be Georgie Bullen who is going to take this here. She goes towards the near side. She goes away from the Israeli defender. And Great Britain are level, as you can hear. So, relief that Great Britain are back in the game. One apiece here with just over 7 to play of this first half. And I said that Great Britain were level, but not anymore. Because with a fine finish, Israel have regained the lead. Talk about a sucker punch. Coming so soon after being on sort of crest of a wave, albeit a very brief, small wave for just a few seconds. And it's up to Great Britain again to try to reply. As Mizrahi looks to beat Lois Turner, but unable to. Turn it low, through. Turning into it and keeping it out is Mizrahi. What is quite interesting on these sort of penalty shots when teams get them, whether it's the men or the women's, it's interesting what sort of route they go. You saw the attempt by Bullen for England. She went from the near side, where she's playing into, to go over to the other side, in which she was able to sort of go towards the far left side of the goal rather than the right. It was an attempt that would work. Of course, you've got so much of the goal to aim for when it's a 1v1 shot that it feels like it's probably one of those where you really will feel gutted as a player throwing the shot if you were to miss than if you were to score, because you have that much to aim for. You just hope that it really goes well. As GB women trail. As 6 minutes 40 seconds on the clock. A little bit of a line going through the GB half. Just needs to have a little bit more red tape on it. So stoppage in play sees one of the sort of court staff just sort of put that down. Of course, no timeouts yet called. Each side has to at least have one in the first half. Each timeout lasts 45 seconds. There's a throw that has a bounce. But it will be GB penalty. After that throw from Lihi Ben David for Israel. And Georgie Bullen, who would score. The last penalty is stepping up now, looking to throw England back level again. At GB level again and make it 2-2, which she will not do. To the delight of the Israeli players and staff and fans. Stark contrast for the Great Britain supporters. Mizrahi has the throw. Bullen then does the same as she gets up. But it's a tight old tussle here in Coventry's CBS Arena. Yes. Once again, Georgie Bullen demonstrating and highlighting how good and setting an example of how to sort of keep the ball out of your own net in terms of stopping it. Of course, you can make saves of any part of your body, but they're unable to keep this one out. Well, GB, as Israel now have a 2-goal cushion. Very much in a good position now with 6 minutes of the first half to play. GB 1, Israel 3. Timeout called. As we are now halfway through this first half with GB behind. We did see the men come back yesterday to beat Egypt, where they were 3-0 down and won 7-5. GB women 3-1 down here. 6 minutes to go of this contest. 6 minutes exactly gone of it as well. So a chance for the supporters and various family members of the GB players to roar them on. Robertson going low. Dealt with though by Lihi Ben-David, who tries to go away to beat Lois Turner, but she sticks her left leg out and keeps it out. That's a really important save because Lihi Ben-David is not far away from making it 4-1 for Israel. As it just feels, certainly shown on the scoreboard, but even the attempts that Israel are missing, it does just maybe feel like they're just a little bit more potent with their shooting as opposed to GB. All just feels that little bit too comfortable for Israel, which hopefully GB will change. And the scoreboard might change. They've got themselves a penalty shot here. It's Georgie Bullen again who's going to have it for GB. Scored one and missed one. So 1 from 2 scored. Will it be 2 from 3 scored? Bullen will not do it. Lihi Ben-David sticks 2 feet out to keep her out. Not the best of attempts that by Georgie Bullen, who really didn't get a lot on it. And it still remains GB 1, Israel 3, with over 5 minutes to go. Robertson, who's always attempted that sort of rotation spin shot where it bounces in the middle of the court, then goes into Israel's half, whereas you just saw a completely different example type shot from Lihi Ben-David where she had a lot of power generated behind her arm. It went low, but luckily off a GB player and defended well enough by GB, who can't really afford to concede another goal. Otherwise it becomes difficult. Robertson looking to beat Mizrahi, the left-sided player of the 3. Stopped in that battle though. Of course they were in total control yesterday against Australia at GB, but feels different here as they're now chasing the deficit rather than holding on to a deficit. They have still got another 12 minutes in the second half to do so, and still 4 minutes of this first half, and it's going to get a lot more tougher. Lihi Ben-David with a cool strike, eagle-eyed, as GB now trail 4-1 here. What's next for Simon Ford and his assistant Becky Ashworth, as GB needs some inspiration from somewhere to get them back in it. As it looks as though Israel are going to make a change, which of course they are required to at least make one of this first half. So Noah Malka is on for Israel. Shouts coming in from the home crowd. When allowed and when entitled to, any sort of shout is possible as Georgie Bullen's block goes over the goal and over the frame of it. Or Mizrahi replaced by Noah Malka, so that's the confirmation of that change. Malka will have her first attempt. She tried to get a lot of power behind the shot, but didn't really do what she was intending to do, but it was straight. Easy to deal with by Lois Turner. We're talking about power and generating, and exactly how she would have wanted it to have gone was Lihi Ben-David, but she gets that wide of the GB goal. It's just the last few minutes. Very much feels like this is Israel's game, as GB really do probably need to just have that little refresh. Or maybe have some sort of stoppage in this game. Nihi Ben David. Georgie Bullen though with the save. And there will be another opportunity for England to score from this penalty. Becky Ashraf did stick her arm up to sort of appeal it. Of course, they can't shout it. Don't worry, the officials must have seen her hand. Bullen will throw it. She'll go towards the far corner where she's from. Nihi Ben David is there to deny it. They get these opportunities. GB have got to take them. And they are failing to do so at the moment. There's now Israel get an opportunity of their own on this 1v1 penalty to try to score. However, though, it's too short. Georgie Bullen keeps her out. So both outsmart the other one and win the battle of wills in terms of the defending. As it still remains here with 3 minutes exactly left. GB 1, Israel 4. Or not anymore, because it's 4-2. With Robertson pulling a goal back. There's operation. Comeback is on for GB. So Israel are going to make another change, and it was a short and brief appearance for Noah Malka. So Elham Mohamed Ruzin is the latest player to come on for Israel. Maybe there is some sort of problem for Noah Malka. She was quite quick to take her eyes sort of shades off. It's just pure sort of speculation, but you don't often see subs go off very, very short when they've only had a minute or so, it felt like, on the court. Now it's Turner with the bouncing shot. Doesn't bounce over the Israel defender Gal Hamrani. There's now GB. Plan a change. Lois Turner is to come off, and Antonia Bunyan is to be her replacement. So, Team GB making a change. Game won't resume just yet because she is now putting her shades on. Of course, before they go on, the officials have to check, so there is no advantage. And she, of course, has a very distinctive feature because she wears a ice hockey helmet as well, so very much acting like the sort of ice hockey sort of goalkeeper, which of course you would usually see them wear, as well as the outfielders, and has this on as she comes on with 2 minutes 34 seconds remaining of this first half. With a 2-goal deficit, not the most sort of healthiest lead you can have if you're Israel. Because if GB are to get one back, it means they're closing in on getting level. As Israel look to try and go 5-2 up. Unable to, though. But it is hard for players to, first of all, get the accuracy of their shots right and get the real power and pace on it as well. Seemingly, that doesn't apply to Nihi Ben David, and that is a brilliant block by Georgie Bullen, who is in the way of it. As Bunyan sees the ball go to her, but it's Amelia Robertson who's taken on the shot. Denied well there by Hamrani, who won't keep it in. She won't claw it back in her side's half. It will go for GB's restart. And we'll be with Antonia Bunyan, who spin it, bounces inside her half, then in the Israel half. but it is dealt with. But the difference you'd probably have to say in this encounter is the Israel number 6, Lehi Ben David, because of her sort of rocket shot that she has, and the way she throws it, which you can tell she puts a lot of work on before she probably appears in matches. It's served her well and served her country well in this counter with 101 seconds left. This one, Lehi Ben David looking to go for it again, but the whistle sounded because it would not take a bounce. So it's a chance for GB to pull a goal back, as Georgie Bullen, who's been taking all these penalties, is letting the responsibility lie with Antonia Bunyan, who goes low with a short amount of power on it, and able to get over is Lehi Ben David to keep it out. And it's in those areas you've got to really put that away. Plain and simple. GB, and they have seen a 5th goal shipped in, helped on its way in by Bullen. That is not what GB wanted, but it is what the Israelis wanted. 5-2, as now it's getting increasingly difficult for GB to make it 2 wins out of 2 here on home soil, as there is a timeout that's been called. Just over a minute of this first half remaining, where GB trail by 5 goals to 2. They need something to change. Of course, in that 3-minute break, could they get at least another goal that just makes the life in the second half just that little bit more better for them? It will be tough, no question. But if you're Raz Shoham, the Israel head coach, you're ecstatic. But if you're Simon Ford, or Aaron Ford I should say, you're feeling a little bit down and thinking of a way to inspire the troops. Back underway we go. Under a minute of this half to play. Bunyan with the attempt. Kept out though by Elham Mohamed Ruzin. Of course, when you get under the minute clock, one thing that has been quite noticeable is that the team who lead do kill the seconds, don't they? You do get that 10-second window to fire a shot towards the opposition goal, but then you're in no particular rush to do so when you have that sort of minute left, or just under it in this case. Bunyan will throw low along the line. However, though, kept out by Ruzin. There's that. Will be that for the first half. Not going the way of GB women here. 5-2 down against Israel. They, of course, need to put in a performance like their male counterparts and try and come back with a bit of inspiration as we show some highlights on screen. Israel have been top-notch, in particular Lehi Ben David with her shooting. GB, work to do. Big team talk for Aaron Ford, Becky Ashworth, to the players and to the girls as they trail here in Coventry in the first half. It is Israel who lead by 5 goals to 2. We'll be back in just under 3 minutes' time.
IBSA, International Blind Sports Federation, presents, with the support of the International Paralympic Committee, IBSA Anti-Doping App, the first application of its kind in the Paralympic movement, specifically designed for blind and visually impaired people. Athletes, coaches, medical staff, managers, and the public in general now have a powerful tool to stay focused on the principles of clean sport. Scrolling down the main menu, you can find all the important themes you need to know to play fair and be alert to testing procedures and necessary adaptations for athletes with visual impairments. IBSA gives top priority to anti-doping control, being the only international federation with 3 sports in the Paralympic family: goalball, football, and judo. IBSA Anti-Doping App has external links, namely to WADA, where our sport agents can always find the most updated information, especially the list of prohibited substances and methods. Glory in sport can only be achieved by the athlete's awareness of their rights and responsibilities. You can find them on the IBSA Anti-Doping App. IBSA is continuously promoting anti-doping education to all its affiliate athletes and sport agents, not only about the consequences of the use of doping and the risk of using supplements. IBSA believes that education is the major tool to fight doping in sport. Informed athletes can make better decisions. Download the app now at the usual operating system stores.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have seen history being made today.
Such a great team at these championships.
IBSA. Beyond sight. Feel the sport.
Well, work for GB women to do. 5-2 down and have 12 minutes to get a result in their favour and turn the scoreboard into a negative result into a happy one. They start with the team that ended the half. So they hope that the team that finished this half can get off to a good start in the second half. It does appear as though that Israel have the same side that finished the first half themselves. So, clock starts, counting down again, and we're up and running again as Lichi Ben-David has the shot. Gets that well though by Georgie Bullen. Bunyan low with the bounce. Awkward one for Ronnie O'Hayan, who has gone on. We'll reveal the two sides shortly. England at GB have Amelia Robertson, as you can see now with the rubber ball in her hand. Centre is Georgie Bullen, and then of course they have Antonia Bunyan, who has the sort of hockey mask helmet on. Ronnie O'Hayan on for Israel, as well as Lichi Ben-David. But as the shot was going toward and hurtling towards England's goal, the whistle sounds as GB get the first penalty of this second half, because the ball did not take a bounce as it went through. Sort of skimmed off the neutral area. Bullen will look to try and beat the keeper, and she will. So that's one back. That's a better attempt from Georgie Bullen. Lichi Ben-David unable to keep it out. As it is now 5-3 here in Israel's favour. Hudson's attempt is dealt with well by Ronnie O'Hayan, who came on for the start of this second half. Came on in place of Hamrani, who was replaced. Well, here is now Robertson for GB. It seems as though her shooting is just a little bit off at the moment. Bunyan keeps out Ruzin. Bunyan note stretch it out. Making a save with her feet. Excellent work. Speaking of excellent work to save with her feet was the Israel number 1, Elham Mohammed Ruzin. But it's still against GB at the moment. They trail 6-2 on the score. Still time for GB. Over 9 minutes to go. And it's been helped in. Well, that's not helpful. Georgie Bullen tipping it in. She tried her very best to keep it out. She was on the stretch, but Ben David's power on her shot has meant that Israel have got a 7th. And every goal that Israel scored to increase that lead becomes that little bit harder for GB to get back in the contest. They thought they had a way through with the 3rd that they would have found a way in, but there was some sort of infringement there that meant it didn't stand, and that Israel would straight after put themselves 6-2 up, and now of course go 7-2 up, as it does look as though Israel are going to make a change. Well, Ben David is going to go off. She'll be replaced by Noah Malka. Gets her eye shades checked by an official. Of course, places it over the sort of white patches over her eyes, and then the shades go over those white patches. Remember, of course, 4 subs are allowed. And of course, that doesn't include sort of medical ones, which are given the sort of special dispensation. Attempt by Malka is kept out by Georgie Bullen. Only barring Antonia Bunyan being brought on for GB. That's their only change of note so far, as Robertson tips it onto the post. Away to her right and on her side. Crucial keeping, because if she didn't, that would have seen Israel go 8-2 up. There's the GB team in red for this encounter, feeling a little bit red-faced at the moment. Malka looking to try and go and put Israel 8-2 up. But unfortunate. In her country's case, that is not to be. As there is more action to come, we go back to the men's action after this. South Korea against Lithuania. Right now, Brazil-Denmark on court 2 is taking place in the women's division, and there is a timeout called. The GB coaching staff come on. Remember as well, there is more women's action to come on court 1. The next game is Ukraine-USA at 1:15. Canada-Germany is a 3:45 start time, and then we end with Brazil-Finland at 6:15. Remember, in the men's draw on court 1, Great Britain, fresh from their 7-5 victory against Egypt yesterday, take to the court against Germany, who were earlier winners against Finland, winning by 9-6. Incidentally, of course, remember, 16 games a day played, 8 games on 2 courts each, 4 men's on each court, 4 each on court for the women's division, as of course the group stages are powered through and go through so quick. Remember, this is only a week-long tournament, so there are some sides playing twice a day. Particularly certainly in the women's draw, Brazil playing twice today, and also of course Germany men playing twice today. Robertson with the throw for GB. Kept out well though by Ronnie O'Hyan. It's not really clicking for GB at the moment. Now of course the fans in the crowd were quiet because they were enjoying the victory yesterday against Australia, whereas when the players could do with some encouragement and, of course, not having the rules being stuck by because of the fans having to be quiet and the staff and supporters, they would probably could do with a bit of some sort of loud support. Robertson with that same type of shot as it took a deflection all the way, and it has not quite. Now Amalka luckily there to sweep up for Israel as Ronnie O'Hyan's blocked shot came off her left side over the top of her, and would it end up going in for the third goal of the day for GB. Who really just needs something to get the crowd clapping and cheering. As the court will just get a little bit of a wipe. The brush is on. Because it has to be a smooth surface, doesn't it? Makes it easy for the players in terms of the mobility and moving across the court in their half. Notice that the Israeli half hasn't had a wipe down the officials. In that case, not of getting the brush on, but brilliant bit of defending by Bunyan, who was able to use her feet to save on the goal line. That is a beauty of a save. Georgie Bullen dived for it, tried to use her hands, missed it. Look at it out. Bunyan anticipated and read where that rubber ball was going, and Israel must have thought they were going to get an eighth. Elka looking to beat Robertson, but doesn't. Bunyan and Robertson have been very good at just sort of roaming around from right to left in their own court. As O'Hyan is intercepting and then passing the ball to Elham Mohamed Ruzin to throw toward the goal. But it will be a penalty for Israel. This opportunity to go 8-2 up being one that they won't take, because Bunyan keeps it out. Strong save, good handling by Bunyan. So they won't fall further adrift. Bunyan along the frame of the goal goes through the middle, along the floor, but easy for Ronnie O'Hyan to save. It has been a case since the sort of 2 goals in this second half for Israel that the defences of both have been pretty strong in keeping security on their goal. Timeout called by the Israelis, who lead by 7 goals to 2. GB thought that they clawed it back at 5-3. It didn't end up in the net from the penalty very early on, but that was ruled out. And then Israel would subsequently score twice to go 7-2 up. GB have only made the one change on Antonia Bunyan coming on. Sarah Leiter and Megan Smith-Shun-Booth have not yet featured in this game. Will they get time with 5.5 minutes to go? Not looking that way at the moment. They're going to be coming on at all. As Bunyan just gets caught in a spin. She has to throw it out, and of course it will be now Israel's ball. And of course she throws it out, meaning that she won't concede a penalty, and of course if she did sort of try and still launch it towards the goal, it would have led to Israel having a 1v1 penalty, so smart decision by Bunyan to do that. Malkin out for Israel, going right from the goal line to the very end, and it's low across the floor, but Robertson there to keep it out. Here's Bunyan. This time that's better, as it's come out of her hands clean and towards the Israel goal, but still no chance of any sort of goal for GB, let alone any window of a comeback. Robertson along the floor. However, though, Ohio is there to save from. Well, they're certainly bouncing back after an opening game loss to Japan or Israel, whereas GB can't continue the upward trajectory and match and follow on from the Australia result with a result against Israel, but they have now got themselves a opportunity here to perhaps claw it to 7-3, have GB, because the ball would not go into the GB half, so it has led to their penalty. Amelia Robertson's going to take it along the floor and in. Nothing wrong with that. It is now 7-3. First time she's taken one of them in this encounter, and despite sprawling and diving across, Noah Malka nowhere near it, as Amelia Robertson has now made it 7-3. As Ruzhin goes for it. Kept up by Bunyan, who's not been afraid to have that spinning shot, and since she had to sort of throw the ball out because she just got caught up, her shots have been towards the Israel goal, which of course you do have a lot of the goal to aim for on a wide point of view, but of course it isn't the same as sort of blind football goals, where of course it's a lot higher up and a lot more to aim for, as Amelia Robertson is replaced. And Sarah Leiter on your picture is going to come on. Did mention that her and Megan Smith-Shun-Booth have been yet to introduced in this game. So Sarah Leiter is now. She has sort of inner patches on before eye shades, and then she has sort of white patches on her black eye shades on the outside. So, her and of course Antonia Bunyan wearing the hockey mask, certainly pretty easy to identify. As Israel will still feel like they're in a nice enough position. But next on after this, South Korea against Lithuania. Lithuania Paralympic bronze medalists from Tokyo 2020. And the next women's game is at 1:15, Ukraine up against the United States. What is the second game of the day? Here on court 1, 8 played in total on each court. right now on court to Brazil take on Denmark, as it's been helped on in. Israel have 8. Throw across the floor from Ruzin. And Leiter and Bullen just got caught out. A little bit of confusion as to who was going for it. And it's touched on the way through off of a GB player. And Israel now have an 8-3 lead with 2 minutes 37 on the clock. As there is a stoppage, as it seems as though the shoes of Ronnie Ohayon are causing us some distress and a bit of a problem, so she will just be able to tie them up. Of course, the official spotted it and told her as it was a stoppage, so let her tie her shoe up. So looks as though GB are going to have another substitution here. Well, it looked like it until Georgie Bullen decided to try and make it 8-4 and be unsuccessful with that effort. Running along the floor. Kept out well by Malka, and very much Ronnie Ohayon playing like the typical sort of centre, just doing the block in and then giving it to her other 2 teammates on her side to make the pass as the board comes up. Of course, signals number 4 off, or out on the board as it says, in Georgie Bullen's case. And then, of course, on will be Lois Turner back on, who, of course, started the match for Great Britain. Needs to come on with 2 minutes 4 seconds left. Effort by Bunyan is kept up, and there's a high on again. Just essentially passing the ball to Ruzin and saying, you have a go. I've done my job. Turner, the recent sub for GB, attempting it. And speaking of attempts, Noah Malka was attempting to throw, but the Israeli bench said we want to make a substitution with Ruzin to be replaced. Lehi Ben David is going to come on. And the way she's played today, they probably don't really want to see her come back on. As I think Israel are going to just try and get as many goals as they can between what's left of this game and the minute 42 that is left. She goes for a different approach for the shot this time. She's got along the floor, but she went with the bounce effort from the spin. She's unsuccessful from. That has probably been a big reason as to why Israel have had quite a big lead against Great Britain, as they will make a sub. Bunyan off. As you heard, Amelia Robertson coming back on. You've probably seen Nikki Ben Davides come on, who has power in her shots, and GB have thought, well, we'll bring our own player who's got a lot of power in her shots in Amelia Robertson. So it's her, Sarah Leiter and Lois Turner on the pitch now for GB. Malka, Ohayon and Nikki Ben David on for Israel as they look to go 9-3 up. Kept out though by Lois Turner. Good stop by the GB number 8. And Robertson will go for it. But again, it's straight through to the Israeli defence, and that's the usual attempt we've seen from Lihi Ben-David in this game, and she went for one there, but Lois Turner keeps her out, and just sort of seeing that spin type shot. It's always difficult to get right because you've got to get your spin right and generate the power and make sure you're landing before that's good as well, but difficult to actually execute right and pull that off and actually get a goal. But with 54 seconds left of this second half, it is Israel 8, Great Britain 3. Up to the men now, who play later on court 1 at 5 against Germany to get a victory. Of course, it will be the second game of the day GB that Germany will be featuring in. They played earlier on court 1, beating Finland 9-6. As, of course, right now on court 2, Brazil are up against Denmark. And David with the shot on, it's spilled by Turner, and it's now 9-3. There was a lot of people in the crowd thought she'd kept that out, but it just hit against her other hand and has gone in. And by the time it had gone away from Turner, Robertson was trying to react, but Israel have got a 9th. And a heaping more misery and pain on GB as they look for the number 10. But there's a 4th scored by GB. The goal indeed by Lois Turner. And held for level with the shot. It was clean, it was over Malka. Great effort, 9-4. As there are 24 seconds left. Israel 9, GB 4. Israel loses in their opening game to Japan. GB winners in their opening game to Australia. So it's going to be 1 win, 1 loss for both after 2 played. And the next up on court 1 in about just over 20 minutes time is South Korea, Lithuania in the men's draw. And speaking of the men's draw, of course, on court 2, Argentina are up against the United States. That's Lihi Ben-David looking to make it number 10. This time, well, held on to by Lois Turner. She's again turned and spinning, trying to find the far corner, and in she has not been able to. Did look like for just a brief moment that might have gone in. As Team GB are on the stretch. The time that is called. 6 seconds left. Well, the game is now done for GB. Maybe just trying to plan one last move to make it a little bit better for themselves. They are 9-4 down. So this probably will be the last effort for any side. Robertson will go for it. Well kept up by Ohio, and of course she, knowing that she has less than 10 seconds left, just decides to see the game out. So GB have their first defeat in the women's division, and it's Israel who have inflicted upon them. Israel will make up for the loss to Japan by getting past Great Britain, as the first women's game of the day sees Israel beat GB by 9-4. Germany were 9-6 winners against Finland in the first game of the day. We move back onto the men's side of the draw, and we're just over 15 minutes to go until the first throw. It's South Korea against Lithuania, which will be the second of the 4 men's games. But it's full time here in the first women's game of the day. Israel 9, Great Britain 4.